Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-hosts Glenn Martin and DK in the background. We are excited on a bye week to talk about the Baltimore Ravens, all the news, updates, drama, and some end-of-season predictions and projections. Just a little bit of a look ahead as we got a moment to stop and breathe. But, Glenn, how's the weather up there? Looks like you got your power. Everything going all right? The wind is whipping down here.
Yeah, no doubt. The wind was absolutely nutty today. Spent most of the day with no power, which was a super big bummer, but found a way to keep myself busy, run some errands, and eventually it's back, restored. The heat is back on, so it's not so chilly. But, man, this wind was a real son of a gun today, Jimbo.
The wind and the cold, man. Whew.
Bad combination.
Yeah, no, bad combination. But speaking of good combination, us and BetOnline is a great combination. And while others haven't been able to, we've been able to keep the lights on because of BetOnline. Glenn, talk to us about it, dude. You like that? You like that?
That's pretty good, Jimbo. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL, college basketball, and UFC, head to BetOnline today to get in on the action. And don't forget to use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to get your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. And Jimbo, look, this isn't necessarily what we wanted to be hearing coming out of the castle during the bye week. We wanted to hear more positivity, that maybe some guys are turning the corner. Maybe Justin Tucker and the crew figured out the issue in his operation that's causing all these misses, and the offense is gotten something figured. But all we're hearing, Jimbo, is drama. And this time it's centered around Diontae Johnson, the newest wide receiver to the Ravens. The Ravens acquired him, of course, just before the trade deadline. With compensation being Diontae Johnson and a 6th-round pick in exchange for the Ravens' 5th-round pick. And so essentially they've traded back 12 spots in this upcoming draft to acquire the number one wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. Jimbo, tell the people what's going on with Diontae.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously he has the one-game suspension, and it really – all that we know definitively is that he refused to go in the game with the Eagles. That's what we definitively know. Now,
and what else do we know? What's the reaction from the Ravens?
Yeah, they're not happy about it.
Yeah. They're not happy. And they're to show they're not happy, they're suspending Diontae Johnson for 1 week without pay.
Right. I said that at the beginning of my statement.
Oh,
just
sorry.
Make sure no, it's okay. I just want to make sure you knew that I also said that.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Somebody spelled my name wrong, so you know how that does to me.
You were fixated.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, all good. But yes, Diontae Johnson has been suspended 1 game. And just like Glenn said at the top, not what we wanted to talk about in our bye week, right? Like, we wanted to talk about how the Ravens are going to get better, how Justin Tucker's going to improve, how his offense is going to be back on track, etc. But instead, we're talking about this goofball. I mean, look, I want him to contribute. I hope he does. I think goofball is an appropriately placed word there, because I don't want to get more aggressive than that. I don't know the guy well enough. He just got here, maybe he's just getting used to Baltimore, whatever. But he's being a goofball right now, being a little bit of a goofball, a typical wide receiver in a lot of ways. But all I gotta say is that I don't know everything that's going on. But as commentators, which we are, Glenn, as people that talk about this stuff, you have to like connect some dots, right? He came from a situation where he's getting a ton of snaps. Even before Carolina in Pittsburgh, he's getting a ton of snaps. He comes here for a few weeks, very little snaps. 1 reception, I think, on 6 yards, if I'm not mistaken, in a few games.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't too happy about it and decided this is how he was going to pay them back on not being happy about it. I don't know that, right? Like, you don't want to put words in a guy's mouth, but I don't know another reason unless he's physically hurt.
No, I think that's exactly it. I mean, look, we don't know, but we can only take the evidence that we have, and what it looks to be is that he was unhappy with his lack of playing time, and then when the team was kind of forced to turn to him in a way since Bateman went out, he said, "No, I wanted to go in back then. Now that you want me, I'm no longer available, and I'm not going into this game." And it's just shocking because it does nothing but hurt him. Like, The Ravens, even though we have our issues as fans of the team and we're emotionally tied to the team, so we certainly react to their decisions and outcomes very strongly. But league-wide, the Ravens are looked at as a very respected organization. And right up there with them in the top echelon of respected organizations is the Steelers. The Steelers were spurned by the guy, don't want to have anything to do with them. Just watch Mike Tomlin's, response to any questions surrounding him. And now you kind of burn the bridge to the Ravens and torch, you torch the surroundings as soon as you get here. That's not going to make other teams likely to want to go out and sign you. Certainly not to a large investment and put any type of risk involved in it. So he's only hurting himself. But I guess my question would be, Jimbo, what do you think the conversations were when he was brought in? Because we see this in other sports as well. Like somebody has to produce on the team, right? Like we see this in the NBA where a guy will average 22 points a game on a horrible team, on a last place team. And you look at it and you go, damn, this guy's a 22 point per game guy. He must be pretty damn good. And then he goes to a team where the stakes are higher. The competition is better, the expectations are better, and they sometimes shrink under those circumstances. So just because he was the number one wide receiver in Carolina, do you think he came in with a sense of entitlement that, hey, I was the number one there, why am I being relegated to 3, 4, or even 5 here? What's going on? Do you think he came in with that sense of entitlement, Jimbo?
I think entitlement's a good word. I also think just general frustration around the timing of his contract and his lack of playing time, right? Because it's not lining up well for him. You know what I mean? He's going to most likely next year have to do a 1-year prove it deal.
Yeah.
Right. To prove that he can not only continue to produce, but be on good behavior, be a team player, be a contributor, be a blocker. He didn't want to do any of that. You know what I mean? I'm sure. Who would, right? Who wants a prove it deal when you feel like you've already proven it for years? So I trust me, I'm at this point in my career, I don't want a prove it deal. I mean, everybody's always on a prove it deal. Like, let's be honest, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think that had a little bit to do with it.
But has he done enough to have that kind of feeling?
I mean, certainly not here.
Definitely not here, but in general.
Right. And then the other thing is this. I guess I got to ask you this, Glenn. Do you think there's only 2 scenarios in my mind that can be happening, right? And his agent has to be telling him, hey, this is the situation. We know what this is going to be going into Baltimore. They got Zay. Mm-hmm. They got Zay. They got Bate. They got, these pass catchers and wide receiver Likely and Andrews. They got Nelly. They have a developed passing game. They're one of the most prolific passing games in the NFL right now. Like, let's slow play this thing. Let's be a good soldier, and let's go out there and show what we can do in practice. And then, you'll eventually, because you're talented, you'll eventually work your way up, right? And then at the end of the day, think about this, Glenn. If that happens, he slow plays it and has a big impact in the playoffs. You don't think it's ka-ching, 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 right? Like, that's what it is. But so it's either that or his agent is like giving him no advice and just as a terrible agent. Like, it has to be so infuriating for an agent to sit there and watch a guy do he's a grown man, but like watch a guy do the exact opposite of what you're probably suggesting. I'm really going down a rabbit hole that might not even exist here, but there's got to be there's no way his agent hasn't talked to him about this situation, right?
Well, you certainly hope not, but we don't know the conversations, and we've seen issues in the past where agents have steered their client in the big time wrong direction and cost them a lot of money too.
That's true. That's true.
We don't really know what he's saying. Right. He could be in there hyping him up as well, but
gosh, I should be an agent.
I think to your point, it's just silly that you come in this way because look, you're going from the worst football team in football to not only a competitive team, but to an offense was at the time he got here, the 4th best of all time, a historic offense. So to have the type of conceit about you to go, you know what? I know where I'm coming from and I know where I'm headed, but I'm still the best. I'm the man day one when I get here. And these guys ain't got shit on me. And I deserve to play. Like, to have that level of arrogance, to not come in humble and go, look, I'm going to work with the coaching staff. I'm going to pull aside players to learn this playbook, learn the verbiage, and every opportunity I'm given, I'm going to make the most of it. But instead, no. When he is given the biggest opportunity, the biggest chance to show what he's got, he refuses the opportunity, sits on the sideline, and sulks like a baby.
He could have been a huge game saver for us in that game.
Could have been the hero of the Eagles game. Yes, absolutely could have been. I mean, he could have that game. He could have taken Bateman's job. Like if he goes out and makes a bunch of plays, I mean, who knows how things change going forward? We don't know. I don't think the coaching staff has, as much as they say they do, has this unwavering trust in Rashod Bateman like they seemingly have with some other guys. I don't think they have that with him. So he could have used this as a stepping stone to grow his role instantly, overnight, and it's just crazy that instead he thought sulking like a baby and sitting on the sideline is the better option. I think Massey here brings up a good point, and I think this is something we have to consider. Why has Diontae not been cut? I can't believe a
usurper not been rid of.
See, I'm not smart enough. Massey, don't use words that make me look stupid. Has not been gotten rid of. He's shown he's not a team player. Why not been cut? I don't get it. Well, here's why. And this could piss off some other people. He's due whatever team he leaves and signs whatever deal he does elsewhere. He's going to trigger a compensation pick for the team he's leaving. So are the Ravens, Jimbo, just going to let this guy potentially, because look, when did the offense fall off? I'm not going to make this all about Diontae, but holy shit, we were riding high until Diontae got here, and it's been a steep decline. Jimbo, are we going to let this dude sit in our locker room and sulk like a baby and potentially cause some splintering in the locker room just to hold on to the potential there could be a comp pick in the offseason? Or do we just cut this guy and get the Joker out of here?
Well, this is a good question. A lot of it falls on Bates' knee, right?
I guess so. But look, Jake Little says it. Where the hell is Tez Walker?
Yeah. Well, one thing for sure that we know, even if Tez Walker was healthy, I think it's fair to say he's not Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, he's likely not yet. But
at this point, like today is my, you know what I mean? Like,
certainly, yeah.
He's not going to, he doesn't have the potential today to have the impact. Because like Deontay could 1-for-1 replace Bateman's production. And then some, right? Like he would say that, right? From a volume perspective, I think it's fair to say he's carried a bigger load, even on the Pittsburgh Steelers, than Bateman has ever had, has ever carried in his career. Fair or unfair, that's just the truth, right? I'm not saying, look, I obviously love Bate. He's a Raven, and he's worked really hard this year and made some huge plays. So not disrespecting him, but I like the upside if Diontae can get on board. I don't quite understand what the hesitancy is. Because this offense has to be exciting for him. It's a high flying, prolific passing offense. I mean, obviously we run the ball as well, but we are so efficient in the pass. I mean, I feel like this is set up for him to have success. Think about this, Glenn. We get into the postseason, how many more opportunities is going to have to be on national television in comparison to the Panthers, where he's basically local cable. The high school players get more views than they do, right? Yeah. Like, it's just what it is. So, like you said, I just don't understand. It's common sense to just take advantage of your opportunities.
Yep.
Right? You're going to be on television. You're playing with Lamar Jackson. You look. I hope Bateman is back. Even if Bateman is back, there's still an opportunity for him to compete for the ball. Look, we've seen Lamar Jackson pick his guys and roll with his guys. Mm-hmm. Who was the dude in 19 that had a number of? He's like a blocking wide receiver. But he had a number of touchdowns that year. Gosh dang, he only played with us for 1 year.
In 19, it was Seth Roberts, Willie
Seth
Snead.
Roberts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like Seth Roberts and who's the other dude? Willie Snead.
Yeah, Willie Snead. Yeah.
Like those guys had decent seasons for their careers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Diontae has to know that he's better as a wide receiver than them.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
But the problem is those guys are football players and team players.
Right.
I mean, I remember the videos of Deontay Johnson showing zero effort as a Steeler, driving the coaches and fans absolutely nuts in Pittsburgh. This isn't new for him. I just thought that maybe he had matured. But look, when we saw the trade,
just excited to get to a good situation, right, Glenn? Like excited to get out of Carolina.
No doubt, like the enthusiasm of playing and know that you're competing for something greater than just individual stats or future contracts. That you thought that would kind of inspire him to change a little bit. But look, we said it when the trade happened. Why the hell would Carolina give up that guy for less than they would have gotten if they just kept him and let him sign somewhere else in the offseason? Mm-hmm. Well, this is why, Jimbo. Mm-hmm. He's a headache, and he's not talented enough to outweigh the headache that he is. And so, but the whole thing is like, man, do you see an avenue? Can you close your eyes, Jimbo, and see an avenue where he comes off this suspension and goes, you know what? I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm going to try and mend fences, and I'm going to try and we're going to get through this. And like, do you see any avenue to where this ends well, where he's actually a productive member of the team for the last few games?
I think that there's a slight chance, unless he's absolutely delusional. I've talked about this way too much. I'm deep in dad mode, raising a 3-year-old and a 7-month-old, right? So it's like everything. I negotiate with a terrorist every day of my life. It's just what it is, right? But I have one card that I can always pull out when I have to.
What's up?
And say, Henry, these are your choices. You listen to me, I'll just put you in bed to shut the door. Like, you're just going to bed, dude.
That's it.
Yeah, and no, yeah, like, good night. You know what I mean? I'll see you in the morning. We can hit the reset button, right? Mm-hmm. And if he looks at me and knows I'm not bluffing, okay, Dada, like, all right, now do your thing, right? So my point in saying that is that Diontae has to understand that he's not getting paid. Now this is affecting his pay. Up until this point, if I'm not mistaken, this hasn't affected his pay. He's not getting paid this week. And look, if this ends up being the case, he's not coming off a great season. I've always said it before. Players' performance means in correlation to who they are in the locker room, but also what they do off the field. Performance is like if Diontae was at a career high right now and acting like a goofball in the locker room, he gets signed next year. But when those two things correlate, when you're not having a great year and you're acting a fool in the locker room, that's a double whammy, right? Like, not to compare these situations, but I wholeheartedly believe if Ray Rice was coming off an all-pro year, he gets signed that next year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
First year, heaviest weight, yeah.
Right. So my only point is that, like, Diontae has to understand where he's at. Dude, he could be done.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be in the CFL.
Mm-hmm.
He's like...
You want to go live in Canada?
Yeah, this is your livelihood. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a millionaire, have the opportunity to hit it again.
And so talented. Like, how many wide receivers out there that just work their ass off, do whatever the coach asks them to do, and don't have an ounce of the talent that Diontae has? It's really a shame that he's just not getting out of his own way. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no, so but so to your question, there's a slight chance. Like, it's hard for people to change.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't happen overnight.
You're wealthy already.
Right. Right. But it can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen.
So. I guess so. I just hope he has maybe some right people around him, some people who give him some hard truths and let him know what he really needs to hear, not just tell him what he wants to hear. Because this isn't going to work. This tactic isn't going to work. If you've burned two of the most respected organizations in the league, it's not a good indication that you're going to change in the future and make another team want to go down that road with you. I think the only chances he has, unless he turns the corner and makes a complete 180 and comes back to the Ravens and does what he's supposed to do, I think the only chance he has to getting signed is by a horrible team, again, like the Panthers, that are just desperate for some talent, and they're willing to put up with the headache and an off chance that they can catch him at his best.
Yeah. Oh, Diontae, I think you're right, though. Quan says, but why is he behind Nelly? Well, he's behind Nelly because he's still getting accustomed to the offense, guys. Like, I mean, he just got here. Are we sure he would have gotten snaps if Bateman never got hurt? Absolutely. Like, Harbs is choosing not to play his best players. It's not about talent. It's about, so like, I feel like if he's new to the system, he's only going to be able to run a certain number of plays. And the coaches also gauge what plays he can run on their confidence on what he's picking up schematically. So if he would have come in, like Glenn said, and said, hey, I'm going to pull the coach aside. I'm going to stay late. I'm going to talk to Lamar. I'm going to do this, and endeared himself to it and really dove in head first. There's the old adage, right? Like, you get in what you put out. I mean, what is it? You
get out what you put in. Yeah.
You get out what you put in. Yeah. So the point is that, like, if he went into it with 1 foot instead of dove dove in with 2. That's simply what he's getting out of it. Because if the Ravens felt confident in him earlier on, maybe he does compete with Nelly on some of those plays, right?
Yeah.
But, there's certainly that aspect to it as well. But I thought it was kind of WWE-ish. Like people talk about the script in the NFL that they panned to him on the sideline in the game. And then we find out what happened. Obviously, Quan, they would have played him.
I mean, I just don't get this.
Not been a thing.
Yeah, like why is he entitled to get any snaps?
Right.
Like, are we forgetting that this was the greatest offense in the entire league when he got here? And in the 4th greatest all time, historic good, like number 1 in yards per attempt on the ground and number 1 in yards per attempt through the air. Like that is insane. And since he's been here, he's had 5 targets. He's turned those 5 targets into 1 catch for 6 yards. He fell on his ass when he was supposed to get out of bounds. He's been nothing but a disappointment. Why the hell has he earned snaps over Tylan Wallace? He hasn't earned snaps over Tez Walker since he's been here. What you've done for the shit-stained Panthers does not gain you any ground as a Baltimore Raven. You have to show it when you get here. You don't just walk in and get snaps day one. You got to go out there, practice well, play well when given the opportunity, produce when given the opportunity, and you'll get more opportunities. It's just like this idea that he's supposed to walk in day one and get a bunch of opportunities is kind of crazy. Like, that's not going to happen. If this was a shit offense, desperate for talent, maybe. Number 1 offense in football, ladies and gentlemen. Like,
all right, let's forget.
Stop it. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and like DK said, 0 financial pressure from the Ravens to play him. 0, no draft capital. Like, 0 pressure to play this guy other than the pressure he would put on the staff by his play in practice and in the games. Yeah, he was on pace for 1,000. Again, someone has to produce on the shittiest team. It doesn't mean they're a great player. Look in the NBA. The worst team in the NBA, you'll find a 20-something point scorer. You think you can put that guy on the best team in the NBA and he's going to still average that?
Right.
Like, come on.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at Harrison Barnes, right? Like, I mean, kind of the opposite thing where he's on a good team and then he goes to a bad team and he gets exposed in that, like, he's not carrying a team, right? Like,
he not great in that role. I mean, look at Wiggins he looked unbelievable when he had a bunch of shooters around him. And yeah, Derrick Henry's different. Yeah, Derrick Henry's and
he's
also
a Hall
when
of
Derrick Henry
Famer.
got here, what did Derrick Henry say? And what did he do? He worked harder than anyone. He said all the right things. He said, I'm going to earn everything I get. I'm not going to ask for, I'm not going to come and expect. That's Derrick freaking Henry, first ballot Hall of Famer. He said, I ain't earned shit yet.
Right. And you don't think he's got the Alabama mentality where rent is due every week?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you think,
come on.
you know what I'm saying? Right. Like, I have 0 concern that Derrick Henry walked in and said, hey, guys, move aside. I'm Derrick Henry. Nah, you can clearly tell that he's not about that.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just about playing football, being part of a team.
He's got to be better, man. Deontay's got to get his head out of his ass, point blank.
Yeah, and Quan, to your point, D-Hop played for the Chiefs because who else are they throwing the ball to?
Yeah. They had no talent on the outside. They had Kelsey, but he's an aging tight end. They had no
from
talent
a wide receiver perspective, they're going down like flies.
Yeah, they had 0 talent.
Right.
0.
So I mean,
Xavier Worthy is fast, and I've never seen a quarterback and wide receiver with worse chemistry than those two. I mean, this guy runs a 4.2 40, and Mahomes can't get him the ball, dude. It's really wild. It's really wild to see. But I hope that Diontae figures it out and that he can play his best football as a Raven, because I do think he's got incredible talent. It's just you got to show it here. You can't just go turn on my tape from the Panthers.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do it.
No. All right. So let's change gears if that's all right with you, Glenn. Just for a few minutes, I want to kind of look ahead at our division. I want to talk about 2 things. Can we still capture the division? And then how are we looking from an AFC standpoint, right? Because we're going into home stretch. It's crazy that this is one of the most frustrating things about the season. Everyone is talking about the end of the season. There's already the whole playoff simulator and everything on NFL.com and ESPN and stuff like that. And guess what? The Ravens are just getting their freaking bye.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, insane to me. But all that being said, I want to talk about, let's start with just simply our division, if that works for you. Because I think that's the ticket, that's the way we want to get in.
Yep,
right. And we know the Steelers stand at 9-3. The Ravens were 8-5. But I want to talk about our last 4 games. We have the Giants. We have the Steelers at home. So we have the Giants in New York. We have the Steelers at home. We have the Texans on the road, and we have the Browns at home.
So 2 division games left.
Yeah, 2 division games left. And you know as well as I do, obviously we're Ravens fans, but all 4 of those games, very winnable. Games in which the Ravens should go in and be supremely confident. Obviously, the Steelers game is the focal point because that's kind of like a game and a half.
Oh, it definitely is. Yeah.
But do you
But the Browns game is huge too.
Huge. Absolutely. And they're going to come in and relish the opportunity to be a spoiler. Now, let me compare this to the last 4 games for the Steelers, because a much different scenario for the Steelers. Speaking of spoiler, they got this week while we're off, they got to deal with them same Eagles. Then they got to go and play Baltimore. They got to, come to M&T Bank. Then at home, they got the Chiefs, and then they finish with the Bengals. So look, I know that that's tough. I know we have not played well against the Steelers, but we went through the gauntlet at the beginning of the season. 8-5, while I think it should be much better, and there were some really frustrating losses in there, I still think everything's out ahead of us. So I want to talk about this really quick, Glenn. With those 4 games left, let's actually talk about the Steelers first. What do you truly think of the last 4? What will be the split, right? Is it going to be 2-2? Do you think it's 1-3? How do you see that ending up for them?
Well, I think 2-2 is even if you're the most optimistic Steelers fan, of course, you're going to say 4-0. And if you're a Ravens fan that wants the Steelers to lose, you might say 0-4 is possible. So I'll say 2-2 is a fair way to put it. But the question is, what are those 2 losses? Because in Baltimore, I'd prefer them to beat the Eagles, and I prefer them to lose to the. You said they played the Ravens and the
Chiefs.
And the Chiefs. So that's their 2 AFC. Is there any other AFC matchups?
Well, have the Bengals last game of the season.
The Bengals. That's right. So I'd prefer them to lose against the Bengals and the Ravens, and they can beat the Chiefs if they want, and they can beat the Eagles if they want, because I want them to lose their 2 division games. Because if we beat them in the division, if you look right here, right now, as the division's going to be the next tiebreaker, and we're 2-2, they're 2-1. If they lose both of those division matchups and have 3 losses, and we can come out of there with just 2 losses in the division, then if we have the same record, we would have the tiebreaker advantage and we would win the AFC North. So if I had now, of course, I'd love them to be 0-4, and there's a very real possibility with that schedule that they could go 0-4. It's not crazy to think, but I'm hoping for 2-2, and I'm hoping that they lose both their games. But what Bengals team are they going to be playing in Week 18? I mean, what are we talking about? Who's going to be out there for the Bengals? They're going to be completely out of it, and I doubt. I mean, would you, if you're the Bengals organization, are you risking Burrow and Chase and
the thing is, I don't think Burrow wants to sit.
Yeah. That's a tough, but I hope they go out and say, hey, we're going to relish the ability to be spoilers, and we're going to ruin their season.
Now, I hear you. It could certainly be a stripped down team, because it's like, why? Right at this point, we're on
any nagging injuries. I'm not playing.
No, I hear you. 100%. So, yeah, I mean, I think 2-2 is fair, and I think it's just that it's fair. Let me give you an ideal scenario, Glenn. How awesome would it be? Steelers fans are here, Ravens fans are absolutely in dumpster to just see this happen, right? Like, they go down like an elevator, and we're going up that same elevator on the other side, because like you said, Eagles is going to be a tough game. Then they got to turn around, they got to come here. Then they got to play the Chiefs. Those are all 3 playoff teams, and potentially, I mean, I know that the Lions seem to be a lock for the number 1 seed in the NFC, but you never know. No. The Eagles are dangerous right now.
Well, I think the Lions are playing the Packers tonight.
Yeah, right? They play it tonight. They play the Packers. They might think about that. They're 11-1. They got a team in their division that's 10-2 and 9-3. They might not win their division.
It's crazy.
So to that point, the Eagles could swoop in, no pun intended, and end up getting the number 1 seed. I
had a feeling that pun was intended.
It actually wasn't. I promise.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But all that to say we know the Eagles are a dangerous team. They're suffocating. They have a good defense, etc. The Ravens, obviously, they're coming here. I think even the Steelers would say we probably split with them. I think.
Well, I mean, they won 8
and 9.
They won 8 and 9.
That's true. Yeah. But But look, I feel good about that game. And then they got to play Kansas City, who's not playing great, but finding ways to win. Maybe they eke that one out. But yeah, that's just a tough schedule for them. Where I think truly, Glenn, if you look at the Ravens, I mean, look, if we lose to the Giants, phone it in. It's over. It's done.
That would be super embarrassing.
You know what I mean? Just might as well book your trips to the Caribbean now, right? Like it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So the Giants, the Steelers, the Texans are not what the Texans wanted to be at the beginning of this year because of injury.
Yeah.
I think they've started to recover from that. Nico's back and
right.
But I don't know. I don't feel the same juice.
No, they're underperforming to compare to their expectations. And CJ Stroud in particular is playing worse this year than he was last year.
Right. And so while I think they'll win their division, it's just not a great division.
No, I mean, you're talking about who's your biggest competition? The 6 and 7 Colts. Like,
right.
This is the embarrassment of the AFC, this entire division. The AFC South is, I mean, the Jacksonville Jags are a dumpster fire. Tennessee is completely terrible. Indianapolis, they don't know what they want to do with their quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, they're a mess. But just think, Jimbo, if the Steelers lose this weekend, the Ravens come out of the bye playing a horrible Giants team, knowing that the Steelers are only a game up and knowing that we're playing them in a week. So we could easily be tied with them after that week. Now, they would likely have a conference advantage in that second tiebreaker, but that's why that Bengals game is so big. If the Ravens are able to win that tiebreaker as far as division, or at least tie the division record and let it go down to the next, tiebreakers, that would be huge. But Jimbo, if they don't, let's say they can't.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Say they don't win the North. Let's see, because this got me feeling a whole lot. This got me feeling a lot better here, Jimbo. Just knowing, look how these teams are 8-5. If the Ravens are 8-5, you can see here 7 teams make the playoffs. Yep. So the 8th team is a full 2 games back of where the 7th seed is. So in order for does the Colts scare you as a team that could make a late surge?
Like a surge, right? No. They like you said, they don't even know who their quarterback is.
Right.
And what do you feel about? I don't feel the same way about. I do feel the same way about the Dolphins. I'm not nervous about them surging either. Because they can't beat playoff teams.
Right. Tua has never been able to beat a playoff team. It's been his thing.
He's the best JV player in NFL history.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to see it, but honestly, just look at his record against winning teams. It's insane to watch.
Yeah.
100%. I'm scared of it, but I will say from a talent standpoint, I'm more nervous about them because they do have ridiculous weapons, but it doesn't seem like they're putting it together. They have issues. You know what? The rumors coming out of their locker room is that they don't have a lot of respect for Mike McDaniel because of his because he's kind of a, how do you describe him? They were picking on because he was huddled by the heater, shivering, and they're like, look at this guy.
He's soft.
That's our leader. Look at this guy. He's like,
is the way you would describe this word with an emoji?
What emoji is that?
With a cat?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's basically the vibe when I'm hearing out of their locker room that
that's terrible. I probably shouldn't have said that.
They're not impressed by their leader. Maybe his offensive mind, but not the overall package that is Mike McDaniel.
So he just needs to hire David Goggins to be a spokesman.
Yeah. That's the exact opposite of Mike McDaniel.
But to be honest, that's why it's always tricky. Your head coach, there's a difference between individual contributors and leaders.
Yeah, for sure.
In any work environment, you might have a great individual contributor, aka a great OC, maybe not built to be a head coach. Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh don't call plays. They always get bashed for it. Say what you want, guys, about John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh has proven that he's a leader of men in a number of occasions, right? The Super Bowl winning. Same thing with Tomlin, right?
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So things matter for these players, man. That's interesting. I didn't hear that, but
standing by the heater, dude, they're picking on him because he was huddled up by the heater.
Now I tell you what, though, you got to be careful when you get in a verbal spat with McDaniel, because I'm pretty sure that he's pretty elite when it comes to
speaking
the gift of gab.
But he's also I mean, I wouldn't get in an argument with one of these big players if I was
No,
Mike
for sure,
McDaniel's
but he
side.
can make you look and feel real dumb in front of your teammates if he wanted to, I'm sure, with a couple sentences.
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. But look, hey, either way. So I think our overall point, getting back to it, is that Miami is a full 3 games behind us, or 2.5, I guess. It looks like since we haven't had our bye, but like there's not a lot of opportunity for the Ravens to tumble completely out of the playoff picture. Is basically what I'm getting at. So I feel pretty good that no matter how the season ends, that the likelihood of the Ravens being on the outside looking in is very, very low. And so even if they don't win the North, it's not like the Ravens haven't already shown that they can win the Super Bowl from the wild card position. They've already done it. And of course, a lot of teams now have done it, even though it was kind of a rare thing to do in years past. Now it's relatively like, I don't know if I would like to know the numbers in the last 15 years, how many teams have won it from each slot, wild card.
Well, you remember
winner,
Brady and them I'm sure they'll skew it a lot because they always had the number 1 seed. Right.
That's
and
true.
then they would just
Mahomes.
win 2 wins in Foxborough and then the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, and Mahomes has always been one of the high seeds, and he's won a lot lately. That's true. But for a while there, it was relatively commonplace to see a wild card team make a run. So
and
it's not crazy.
No, not crazy at all. Maybe remember how Lamar talked about this last year? He likes playing as an underdog.
I think the fan base likes it too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe this is Lamar's just maniacal way of like, scooting us in there. And I'm obviously joking, right? Like Lamar wants to win every game, but scooting them in there and getting us in as an underdog to motivate the troops. But I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to see what happens and we'll continue obviously to keep an eye on this.
Quickly wanted to point out, I was fooled for a moment of some rumors around X today that people were talking about, reporting that there's been some kickers coming in to try out. I haven't seen any verified source, any source that's trustworthy, saying that they brought in any kickers. And of course, that would be contradictory to what John said they were going to do, who said they're going to stick with him. But I did see some tweets floating around out there. So I just wanted to make sure everybody got clear up. There's been no trustworthy sources saying that there's been any kickers brought into Baltimore.
Yeah. No, and glad to hear that. That being said, I think that's it for us tonight, folks. We're going to let you guys out of here. Enjoy your little bye week. Enjoy some NFL and have a great watch tonight. I think the game is going to be great. So enjoy it. But that's it for us. And we'll talk to you next week.